Hello, my name is Ruth Nelson, and welcome to this week's Master Coaches Weekly Buzz hosted by John Foreman. Our most recent interviews with seven-time SWAC conference champion Alabama State head coach Penny Lucas White and agent attorney Gary Rosenfield provided us great advice on handling furloughs during COVID and why have an agent or attorney represent you. Our newsflash. This map provides us which 16 states that are not playing high school volleyball. A special note, as of this week, Illinois High School Association will not allow volleyball player athletes during their high school season to practice or participate in club volleyball. To stay up on high school changes, go to nfhs.org. Check our coachesinsider.com for an update on what high school ADs are thinking. And for junior club, go to jvavolleyball.org. Today, the NCAA Division I Committee is meeting and deciding on changes for recruiting dates, when season may start in January, and what the structure will look like for spring NCAA Division I Championship in April. Did you know Brian Gimalero was the business manager for the 1984 Women's Olympic silver medal team? Bob Bertucci is one of the founders of Beach Nation, as well as Volleyball Master Coaches, as well as being late to the session today. Dick Bailey was ABCA National Coach of the Year, as well as ABCA Pacific Region Coach of the Year. All will be asking our guests the tough questions on recruiting and scouting services, as well as how athletes and parents have been handling the recruiting process during COVID-19. First, let's go to former Olympic coach Mick Haley, who will introduce our guest today.
Before I introduce our guests, I have to come up with something much better in introducing Ruth. She is really getting creative with this introduction. Ruth Nelson has been a former national team player, national team assistant coach, head coach at LSU, Houston, and Iowa. Presently is working with two programs, youth programs. Bring Your Own Parent is the one that I'm particularly interested in, and Go Kids has been tremendously successful. And Ruth doesn't usually talk about herself on the show, so I'm going to and introduce her, and she's the one that brought you all of that good information to start with. Before I introduce our guests, though, I would like our listeners to actively get involved in supporting our sport. We need the NC2A, the TV people, and others to hear our voice. To do that, our message must come from the Coaches Association, the ABCA, and our leader, Kathy DeBoer, the executive director. We need a czar for our sport, and Kathy is the person that can be that for us. She's done a great job holding us together during and before the pandemic, and she needs our help with two things. The first thing is every coach must renew their ABCA membership now. This totally strengthens our message. So do it now, please, and be active with this. Secondly, register for the ABCA convention in December. This is a must also to keep the ABCA materials and information coming to us every week. Please register now. And now, our guests for today include two ladies who work with recruiting services, helping athletes get seen and get signed. Our first is Sue Weber from the NCSA Sports, is their partner, event partner director, and Sam Wolinski from My Recruiting Solutions is the recruiting coordinator for that group. And we're going to dive right in here, ladies, but welcome to both of you. My first question.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, you're welcome. My first question to both of you is, why are recruiting services helpful, and do blue chip athletes need your services? Sue, will you start, and then we'll go to Sam.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So again, appreciate all of you to have us on today. I know Sam and I were very excited to come on the show and be a part of this. And as far as recruiting services, right now there's a ton of uncertainty and unknowns. And I know that college coaches are thinking the same thing, like, I don't know what's going on sometimes. So while we may not know all the answers either, we do provide information, we provide updates, education, and sometimes just someone to talk to, right? So talk through the what's going on. Sometimes I feel like a psychologist, even though I'm not a psychologist at all. But it's helpful. It is helpful to talk through the options, talk through the divisions, not just Division I, but what's going on with Division II or NAIA or junior college. So I think that's something that people are just in search of, is education and information. And then a lot of people here for NCSA, they don't realize that we offer more than just recruiting services. We do SAT and ACT help. We do college funding help through separate partners. We do tons of free webinars with guest speakers and motivational speakers. So it's kind of beyond just recruiting services too.
And Sam?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Kind of echo off what Sue said. It's a lot of that. And it's like when you're coaching. I mean, I was a college coach for 20 years, so I kind of provide that guidance and that piece of it at different levels as well. And in helping players and parents alike through what schools should they be focusing on, having the hard discussion about what can they afford to pay for school. It's all the different levels that we work with, just as Sue does, and helping them guide them through that process. And it's teaching life skills and keeping in touch with them afterwards. How are they doing? When they need somebody to talk to, when their parents need somebody to talk to, probably as well, a lot of the times right now. And then, Nick, you mentioned the blue chip piece. We actually, and I'm sure Sue has this too, we have quite a few blue chip kids that we are actually working with that at the end of the day probably don't need us, to be quite frank. But with this COVID situation, we've seen this transfer portal the last couple of years, and it's going to blow up even more with everything that has happened if kids aren't doing the right homework and trying to figure out what's the right fit and where's the right place for them. So that's a reason why we have a few of these blue chip kids even with us, even though volleyball wise, they could figure out where they need to be on their own.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, Sam. It's not an issue of do they get exposure or do they have interest. It's more about decision-making, consultation, for sure.
Absolutely.
Great. And the second question I have is, do you have a ranking or a qualification system within your service that you use? And Sam, would you go first on that?
Sure, I'd be glad to. We do evaluations on our players. And for the record, we just don't take everybody. We have actually told some people no, that we are not able to help you based on different circumstances. And even based on, we've had some people that have reached out that just have not played volleyball at a high level or in the club system, and they're just not going to be able to find us a home, quite frankly. So we're very honest. I have an evaluation sheet that I've put together that we will watch film if they're from all over the country. We do have people that we have a court in our office here in Southern California. So people will come in and we'll do an evaluation process. I work with them on the court. Then we talk with them in our office area. And then, Kara and I travel throughout the country when we were able to travel and had a club season. And there will be times when there are families that will reach out to us, know we'll be at an event, and will ask us to come and watch and do an evaluation that way as well.
And Sue?
Yep. Similar, a little different, but similar to what Sam in my recruiting solutions does. But we have 8 volleyball-specific recruiting coaches that work for NCSA. We do multiple sports, so football, basketball, volleyball. But for volleyball specifically, we have 8 volleyball recruiting coaches that watch film, that have phone calls with these families and kind of go through what they're doing well, what they want to continue working on, and then what kind of divisions they're probably going to get the most interest from. So that's mainly through the video, but we do go to events as well. Like Sam said, when we could go to events, we'd have a booth there. We could go out and watch our clients play and actually get that live evaluation, but it's mostly through the videos that they send in to us. So we're kind of reliant on them updating their videos as well. But our recruiting coaches have all coaching, playing experience from junior college to Division I. We have an ex-Division I compliance officer on our team. We have a wife of our Division II coach on the team. We have a parent that has 2 kids playing Division I volleyball and basketball. We have an incredible team here. So we use all our backgrounds and experiences to help the families with any information that they need.
Great. I'm going to pass the mic over.
Yeah. You know, it's great to hear how much you both obviously care about young kids, your players, both, you know, and it's also impressive that you are ex-players and coaches. And I actually do remember, Sue, when you played. I was trying to play that off earlier, but I do remember. But I have a couple questions. Or who is this geared toward? And you kind of touched on that. And my second question is, how do you get an athlete placed? And you, Sue, start with you, and Sam, you can follow up, but see if you can handle both of those questions.
All right, perfect. Well, MTSA is kind of a three-pronged service, so or a company. So our main, you know, what everybody hears is the individual memberships for student athletes and their families and the guidance along that way. But we also have a high school and club service that is called Team Edition, and we piloted that probably 3 or 4 years ago that helps high school coaches and club coaches kind of track their athletes and their progress and just kind of keep a track of everything. And then we also have a coach relations department. So they talk to college coaches, what are your preferences, what are your roster openings, and that helps us as recruiting coaches on our side understand that whole system. So a little complicated, you know, but our main service probably is those individual memberships with families, but we also do help high school, club coaches, and college coaches. And then how do we get an athlete placed? Well, we don't guarantee anything, right? We cannot guarantee that you will get a spot on a roster with scholarship, right? We will help you with that process. So one of our main things that we use is a technology we call Recruit Match. So within NCSA, we're kind of a technology company as well, where we put in the student athlete's preferences. So they go through this on their profile and check off, I want to stay in Illinois, or I want to have a big school. So they put all their preferences in. We also take into account the recruiting coach's evaluation. So which divisions could they play in? And then the college coach's preferences. So if you guys as college coaches would put, I'm done recruiting seniors, you would not get any seniors pushed to you. And then also the college coach's admissions. So all 4 of those things go in this algorithm, which gives the student athlete their highest matches. And then we push their profile link out to their highest matches. So that's the big process, and then the consultation along with that.
Sam?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Sue said is what we do as well. We start off with our premier service, we start off with like an initial consult, and we are in continuous conversation with our families and our kids. It varies every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, depending on the grad year, but figuring out where it is they want to be, what are their goals. Some people we work with want a leg up into a top-notch academic school. Like we just had one of our kids in 22 commit to an Ivy. That was her goal. We had a young lady as a senior who just wanted, you know, a top-notch D3 academic school. We have others that there's a financial piece that's important, paying for school. So we have those conversations and then look at film, do the evaluation. We have software as well called scoutscholar.com. It's actually free for anybody to use. The kids that we work with, they're put on it, and then we help develop that list, and they're able to go on there and keep everything organized as well. So everybody has a different, I guess, finite goal in mind as to what they're looking for, and we help guide them, location, fit, you know, level, and also keeping it real with them through that as well. So that is our goal at the end of the day. So we work with everybody, like you said, from D1 to D2 to Division III to NAIA, even junior college kids, and then we continue with them when they're looking for a 4-year institution as well, which is similar to what Sue and NCSA is doing as well.
You know, I as a college coach for 32 years at the same school, recruiting services were very, very important to me. I wanted to rely on their ability. You know, for example, Ruth Nelson has a program of how to evaluate an athlete. And you both of you might want to call Ruth and so that when you send people out, they can be trained on how really a good eye, because she's had so much experience. But with me, you know, what I really wanted was to see how the recruiting service ranked a player, what they saw in them. And sometimes we agreed and sometimes we didn't, but we had a good feel about, over the years, they spend so much time, and this player can do this or do that and all that. We would gladly be of any service as master coaches to help you with this, but it was so important to me as a coach to really understand how they felt this person would be placed, what abilities they really had. So, you know, do you feel comfortable with your ranking service if a college coach called you and said, is this, tell me about this player, or do you put it in the profile of the player itself? Sam, let's start with you.
Either or.
No, I mean, that is, Sue touched upon like reaching out to coaches and finding out needs. Kara and I do that all the time as well. I mean, I've been texting or, having some people email me or call me before this, and we have those conversations. And, I'm fortunate that I got to serve as a coach for 20 years. And I just had that conversation this weekend with a coach who said, Sam, if you were back at Eastern Illinois, would you have looked at this kid? Or when you were at Mississippi State, would you have looked at this kid? And those are the conversations we're having. And I always look at it's nothing personal. Like when I share names and information and video, tell me what you think, tell me what you like. If not, that's okay. I might have somebody else, because all of you as former coaches and current coaches on this call, have your style and what you need that are going to fit the needs of your specific program. So now there will be times they'll ask me about a kid and I will be point blank, I don't think she can play at your level. I have coaches ask me that all the time, and I'll be like, right now, I don't feel we have anybody that meets your needs. If that changes, I will be sure to reach out to you. However, we have some babies. I like to refer to the babies as like the 23s, 24s, I guess.
Sure.
Maybe you need to keep an eye on them right now. Here's where they are.
Yeah, Sue, but specifically, what I really liked, and most coaches liked it right on your evaluation of the kid. This young athlete could play Division I as a back row specialist. Our top 20 team. This player could play top 50. We had different systems that we saw over the years, and it was really helpful. Do you have any component of that?
Yeah, and I think, it's internal. So similar to what you guys do as college coaches and what I did, we have our internal notes and our internal rating system, but we also shared that at least the evaluation part with the families, and then the college coaches can see that on the searching, right? So they'll see the match percentage and they'll see our internal notes of evaluation. So when we, as a recruiting coach, we use our backgrounds and everything and watching them play and the conversations that we have with those families, and write a little bio in that saying she's interested in studying, pre-med. She's, whatever her preferences are, but also then our opinion. She has great ball control. She's working on her foot speed, whatever they have shared with us too. So I think that's another component of it, but also the stats, the jump stats. I think we partner with AVCA to get that DPI number, which is important information, but a lot of people don't understand what it is. So we're trying to get that more out there, as well as Adidas Experience. So Adidas Experience is one of our partners that goes to the Windy City Qualifier, Colorado Crossroads, and Pacific Northwest, and measures their jump approach and arm speed and height. So obviously those are components that we want to verify, but then we also have our internal evaluation that we share with college coaches too on their profile that the coaches see.
We'll go to Bob now.
The question.
You did.
Actually, I understand what Brian.
Does Bob have his coat on? Does Bob have
I do. I want you to make sure I'm dressed appropriately today.
All right.
Yeah, Brian, I know what you're talking about, because I've seen a number of those services. Two in particular I can think of, where and Sue, I do get a lot of your stuff on a regular basis, and there's a tremendous amount of information in there. But I think Brian was talking more about where the recruiting service would actually rank the kids, and you knew it was coming from somebody that was comparing the kids and had different categories for them. And this is a upper Division I player, this is a mid Division I player, and then there was a ranking within the ranking, and you had all those recruits all at one time on one sheet, and it made it a little easier on which ones you wanted to look into depth a little bit more. And I used to enjoy doing that. And I know the people that were evaluating it, were credible. And it was really good to get that. But my question, Sue and Sam, it has to do with, during the COVID, time here, what has changed? I mean, in your services, what did you have to do differently? Why don't you start first?
Sam, are you able to, which one?
Sue, go ahead.
Me, perfect. So unknowns and uncertainty, right? Like not knowing who to go first. But just lack of information and changing information. So one thing that we've all done at NCSA is like follow Twitter NCAA announcements, right? Or we actually have our marketing service send out coronavirus updates, and we have links of information that's kind of overwhelming, but it's great to have that knowledge. Even if it's just sometimes headlines on, Division II is going to make an announcement or whatnot. So more and more on our side too, we need to know that information so we can advise our clients intelligently. And then technology, obviously, or even those who do not have technology. I think there's a difference between the haves and have-nots, or the ability to have technology or internet service. That's going to be a huge thing going forward. If this continues, we need to make sure that people have access to video service or online profiles or emails even. So I think those two things, information and technology, have really shown up.
Yeah, I will echo that. I think the technology and the social media piece is something I want to harp on, because I think that that's been huge. I've seen an increase of more kids on Twitter, probably in the last few months, because I know a lot of the coaches are actively on Twitter versus, say, Insta. A lot of college coaches will keep Instagram more for their personal lives, etc. So that piece of it, we've seen, obviously TikTok has blown up, good or bad. That's another discussion for another time, but that part of it is super, but that's super important. And people are checking all that. And so the kids that have been very active on social media and sharing about their lives and sharing about volleyball and being creative with workouts and everything, there's been no film, right? Nobody's been able to go travel. I mean, so that's been a huge piece that's been missing. How do you get content to the coaches? And so we have been really telling everybody, you have to be creative. You got to think outside the box. So that's a big piece of this during COVID. If you're working out, we've had kids who have done put out grass courts outside their houses and have their dad trying to throw them balls and everything. And, showing that you're committed to your, to make that better. So workout videos. A lot of kids have started baking during COVID and sharing that they've been in the kitchen, or they've been sewing or knitting, but it tells a story. We've all had our challenges through COVID. And so I think that that's really important, that you're building that relationship, that rapport with those coaches. That's been huge. Kara and I have been doing a weekly Zoom meeting ourselves every Tuesday at 4 o'clock Pacific time. And it's free and open to everybody. And we talk about different topics and just putting the education piece, as Sue has talked about. I think the education piece is huge. Obviously today's a big day for Division I with this recruiting calendar and what's going to happen with the, D1 playing season and championships. Every day something changes, and being able to provide that information, and I think provide a sense of calm, quite frankly, to everybody about what they can take control of through all this has been really, really important.
Well, Sam, continuing on, this whole COVID idea, what happens if the national events and national qualifiers don't happen this year? All right, you just mentioned a little bit about, we don't have a lot of playing footage. What are you guys doing if that happens? Because that's going to cut down the opportunity to get some footage.
For sure. It just happened this year, right? We just went through that. We were in Denver at Crossroads when it finally got shut down, and then everything else stopped as we know it. So that's a great question. What do you do? We have a lot of people are able to play high school. There's others who are still working on that, or it's been postponed to later. You have a lot of kids who have been able to get back into some gyms on some limited basis and trying to get the footage, setting up cameras, even if a mom or dad can't be in there, setting up a camera. We've been, before you got on the call, I was talking about how at our facility here in SoCal, our small court, I've become like the lesson queen because people have been coming in. There's been tryout clinics. Take advantage of every opportunity that's out there. You know, we hope club's going to happen. Clubs moving forward, they're planning on that. But just having people do whatever they can and to make footage of that. We've been hosting, we had a showcase on August 29th at Viper Volleyball Club out here, and we filmed it and sent it out to every college coach. There were 150 young ladies who showed up, and everybody got a highlight reel from that event. We're going to be hosting a few other events throughout the country here starting in November as well, for that reason, to help with that film piece. If college coaches are able to attend in the future, fantastic. If they can't, fantastic. They're going to get the film of everything, and any of those kids can reach out and send the film to those college coaches as well.
All right, and Sue, are you guys doing something similar to that or something different?
Yeah, similar. I mean, advising to go to a local gym, get video recordings, that type of thing. But we also, because we do multiple sports, we do have a partner that does rival combines with football. So it's all outside, it's in turf. So that's another thought process that we've had on the event side is, do we do grass tournaments? Do we do grass combines, beach combines? So is there anything in the works yet? No, because we're not sure if, what's going to happen yet. But we have been talking to tournament directors, as a vendor, asking what are the PPE issues or what are the state and local and county, because we've gone to things in the Northeast where DC is different than Maryland, that's different than Virginia. So all those things we understand that the tournament directors are having to deal with too. So we're trying to figure out if there's anything that we could do on our side that would make an outside, event happen within volleyball. So that's our creativeness, but all uncertain right now, obviously.
All right, I'm sure it's a challenge. Ruth, I'm sure you have a couple of questions that you'd like to ask the ladies.
Okay, so you want me to ask my questions in 15 seconds, you boys. Okay, so my questions are...
It's my fault.
You better laugh.
Some things never change.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be revised. I want you to note on my background that these are 2034s. They're all 4 years old. So I'm going to revise my question just a little bit. I'm not going to address 2034s. However, I wanted to know, how would you prioritize in giving two things to possible recruits that are trying to get recruited right now, and they're in the 2022-2024? Two things, each of you. And Sam, let's go with you first.
Oh, the pressure. Prioritize. So I think being active on social media is huge. And a lot of kids have volleyball, like Instagram accounts, Twitter, taking care of that, but being smart with it as well. The other piece is you have to be persistent and consistent with your communication to the college coaches. You can't just let it be one time and then done, one and done. You have to keep after these coaches because there's so many unknowns at all levels. Every day it changes, and being consistent and persistent in reaching out is huge.
Okay, ding. Okay, Sue, your turn.
Well, communication was going to be my number one too, Sam. So great advice there, and not just with college coaches, but within your family. Keep mom, dad, and kids on the same page, and then also empathy. Like Sam was saying, things change all the time. So there's hurricanes and fires, and unchanging. The college coaches don't know what's going on. So have some empathy and make sure we don't have just the me blinders on, but understand that there is a lot of uncertainty and a lot of stress out there. So communication and empathy would be my two most important right now.
All right, ding. All right, this last one. I've noticed that both of you have an aspect to your recruiting and scouting service that is no charge. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So you have a profile, you have Scout, and same thing for you, Sue? All right, so my last part of this would be, and I am out of time because I'm going to send this to Mick, but I want to say personally thank both of you, and I want to repeat what was repeated on Twitter today. Everybody doesn't have an E-Trade account, and everybody doesn't have a financial advisor. So recruiting and scouting services may match up with individual people. Mick, now to you.
Wow. I'm supposed to close, and I've got 60 questions here that I would like to go into too. You both have been great about recruiting services. You even handled Brian's questions quite well because he was lobbying for MasterCoaches to be part of both of your services, and I agree with that. That would be great. So nice going, Brian, on that. I want to thank both of you for being on. I thought very difficult to do, and you both handled it quite well, and we thank you very, very much for being here. So next week.
We appreciate it. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Next week, we are going to actually have Kathy DeBoer on, and we're having her on for a couple of reasons. She started our series a long time ago. We had tremendous viewership for that. She brought tremendous information for us. Now she's going to bring us information on the tournament that they're going to announce today. She was also behind the scenes involved with negotiating with the NC2A committee a little bit to get the best possible deal that we could get for collegiate volleyball this year. And so we're excited to have her on about that and to tell us about the December convention, which is supposed to be, and by her words, by far the most outstanding convention ever, with the number of presenters and the quality of the presenters. So Ruth, I'll turn it back to you to close, but thank you.
That sounds great. And Sam and Sue, thank you. If you guys would love to stay on and listen to our advertisement, or you are free to go start recruiting and making those phone calls.
Sue, Sam, it was a pleasure, by the way.
Sue and Sam, thanks very much.
Thanks. You guys are great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Okay, fall
Bye-bye.
Master Coaches virtual clinics are now available for you, your team, or your coaches. Please head over to Instagram, VB Master Coaches, click on our bio, and click on the virtual clinic link, or you may scan the QR code that will take you directly to all of our information. A special shout out to our partners, Baden Sports and SNA Sports. Join us next week for Master Coaches Weekly Buzz. Follow us on Facebook, Volleyball Master Coaches, Instagram and Twitter, VB Master Coaches. All of our weekly buzz shows are on YouTube, and you may access these by going directly to our Instagram account. Click on the link and enjoy listening to leaders in our sport address current issues and trends. Register today or by November 6th at the latest for the 2020 AVCA convention. Save $50 to get the first opportunity for small group training and sessions and career center appointments. Now, remember, after our host closes our weekly buzz today, you may stay on Facebook Live and join us for Master Coaches Buzz Reaction for an opportunity to hear and engage in our most recent talks. Now let's go to our host, John Foreman, who will update us on his upcoming coaching conversations. John?
Thanks, Ruth. Fortunately, the technology issues that I was having preventing coaching conversations are basically resolved, so I'm looking forward to getting those back going again. So keep tabs on Coaching VB on Twitter, coachingvb.com on the website, and also obviously if you're on the stream, then you know Coaching Volleyball on Facebook.